Coming up on the Greg and Tim Show podcast.
Hopefully we won't get that call from Scarlett Johansson. What the heck? And Greg's like, who is this? Jets are back. And,
the Jets are back.
Fans, not
apparently,
so much.
Yeah. Apparently nobody got the memo.
The littlest hobo. I watched it all the time. And if I
a lot of hand talking, a lot of tapping on the desk.
We're very animated, us Sanderson.
You Sanderson.
Just
So at home you didn't have any chain of command?
No, there is no authority whatsoever.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Okay.
Who are these people that like winter better? Researchers say that we lie.
So here
we lie, apparently, this is what I heard, anywhere from 10 to 20 times a day, but we just don't realize it.
Get your earballs ready, and welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show podcast. Here are your hosts, Greg and Tim.
Hey, and welcome back to the Greg and Tim Show. I'm Greg, as always, and my co-host over here, my sidekick, my partner in crime is Timothy. It's a beautiful day for another podcast. I hope that wherever you're going right now, you're driving slow, driving fast, driving safe, sitting on your couch, sitting in the hot tub.
Sitting in the hot tub.
Sitting on the dock of the bay.
I love the hot tub.
Wasting time.
I love to sit in the hot tub. It's a little bit cold.
I'm going to sing my heart out every episode. I don't care what people say about it.
It's going to be the lowest rated show of the 8 so far that we've done if you keep singing.
It could be.
It's like all these comments. Well, we might get some comments. We might get some feedback.
Episode 8.
Episode wheat, if you are French.
It is the Great 8. This is episode number 8.
8 is wheat. Wheat?
Wheat. H-U-I-T.
Wheat, yeah.
Yeah.
That's in French.
Not to be confused with nuit, which means night.
Or wheat as in the
wheat
crop
that you eat.
of wheat.
That's right. So we got a good episode today, Tim. Can you tell me what's happening?
We've got a topic that's as common as it gets.
Is it?
And it says what it is here. I'm gonna leave the topic out. We're gonna find out what the topic is later on. We're going to dive into a world of little white somethings, and I'm not going to say
that sound right at all. But that's fine. We will do that, and we'll explain the nuances around it, and a little bit about it, and when it might be too far. Like when it might cross the line.
Be too far and cross the line. And of course, we've got your favorite segments lined up and keeping it fun. And of course, we always talk about sports, don't we?
We have a little bit of sports talk coming up right away. And we have a special segment today called This or That.
This or That.
Yeah.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. And we have a special guest lined up.
I'm looking forward to this one because this special guest is somebody that can really give us an insight into what Tim was like as a father.
Well, I think you've given away a little bit too much there, but okay. So, as always, we invite the viewer to grab their favorite beverage.
Viewer, listener, you right there. I can see you watching, listening, enjoying.
Whether it's
not see you in a creepy way, though.
Little white somethings.
Let's roll.
Let's roll.
Grab your phone. It's podcast time. It's the Greg and Tim Show. It's the Greg and Tim Show.
The Greg and Tim Show. The Greg and. It's the remix. Remix. Jason Derulo. It's the Greg and Tim Show. That's a good. I think we should remix it. I think we should see if we can put it into one of those AI remixers.
Yep.
And see if we can get like a hamster mix or something like that. Remember the hamster?
Oh, yes.
Internet,
That's
like,
right.
The little hamster guy that would always do the dance and everything. Maybe we can get him to remix it.
Dial up.
Dial up internet. What was that? Dee-doo. I can't remember the name of the sound. I'm sure that we can play it though, as long as it's not copywritten. Our last episode, we got some copyrights.
Did we?
Oh yeah.
That was my question. Can we say this?
We got 4 of them. Who's the boss? Green Day. Tom Jones, and the incredible movie that you talked about, We Bought a Zoo.
We Bought a Zoo.
So thanks, guys. We appreciate it. The podcast that makes $0 is paying $0.
Hopefully we won't get that call from Scarlett Johansson. What the heck? And Greg's like, who is this?
Who?
Wait a minute. Who? What did you say?
Scarlett, what? Oh man. So how was your week, Timmy?
My week was fantastic.
Yeah?
Yeah, it was a really good week.
Yeah. I think we got a lot of things we did this week. So far, there's been a few hockey games on television. The good old Jets.
Jets are back. And,
The Jets are back.
Fans, not
Apparently, yeah. Apparently nobody got the memo that the Jets came back.
Okay.
So it's been 12 years.
Yeah.
12 years of Winnipeg Jets hockey.
Yeah.
Now I know the honeymoon's over.
Yeah.
But is the Jets shine gone?
Explain what you mean by that, but my answer is yes.
You know, when you get a brand new car, you love it. There's a honeymoon phase at the beginning where you drive it all the time.
Yep.
You're loving every moment. And then there's a phase where you're still cleaning it, you're washing it, you're taking care of it. And then there's the phase where you don't clean it anymore, you don't vacuum it out anymore, and you could care less whether it's there or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I remember the day that we got tickets for the first time 12 years ago, and I think the season tickets sold out in, I want to say, like 25 seconds.
It was quick, yeah.
And not only that, but
the only way this works, Batman said, is if we sell out this arena every night.
And not only that, but there was a waiting list, 10,000, 5,000, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So the demand, because we hadn't had NHL hockey for so long, and people were just excited. They didn't care if we won or lost the first year. They just wanted to see the Stars come and play here, and they did. And now 12 years later, you could argue that there's, if you went down that roster for the first year and
it was not good.
It wasn't very good. You'd forget half those players that played. And now you have much better players.
Kyle Wellwood, Nick Antropov.
No, there'd be people that you wouldn't even remember being on that roster. If you named it, there was 6 or 7 people like, I don't remember that name. Actually, funny story. And maybe we don't go too long in this segment, but the first year that the Jets came back, we did not go to the Montreal game. That was the first game we played at home.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But we took a trip to Chicago and watched. We watched the Chicago Blackhawks. They beat us 4-3 that night. But that was the second game ever.
Is the whiskey getting to you? Is that the problem?
It's tequila. Don't be silly. And I went with some buddies.
Yeah,
it was the second game, and we barely we had standing room seats. They weren't great seats. We went cheap on it.
Yeah,
like I said, I do a lot of times. And so the first 2 goals, Slater scored. Jim Slater of the GST line. He scored the first 2 goals, and they were 2 goals within like 2 minutes or something. 2-0 Jets, and we're going nuts. So we're going to see the first win because we lost against Montreal 5-1. And we're like Slater, and we're like, who's Slater? We had no idea who Jim Slater was. Yeah. Is this like Saved by the Bell, Slater? So it's kind of funny. We didn't know who he was, and he's making it 2-0. We doubled the amount of goals we scored in the first. My opinion of it is, I'm wondering if, and this might be controversial to say this, but I'm wondering at the end of the day, Winnipeg as a city is a small market-minded city that can't support a major franchise, or at least doesn't want to.
So think about it. The NHL is a national hockey league. This would be on par. And some people will argue this, but this is on par with Major League Baseball, NFL, with the NBA. And in baseball and the NBA, there's 1 Canadian team. In the NFL, there's none.
Yeah.
And in Canada, there is 7?
That sounds about
3 in 3 Ontario, Quebec, and then 4 in the West. You got Ottawa, Toronto, Montreal. And then you got Edmonton, Calgary, Winnipeg, and BC. Vancouver. There are 7 teams. Now, hockey's Canada's game. We're going to argue that, hockey's always going to be Canada's game, and there's always going to be passionate fans here in Canada. We love our hockey. But with the way that the world is working right now and the dollar and everything that's going on with, just Canadian money, Canadian, what do you call a recession right now?
Yeah.
It's hard to afford these tickets. And they've gone from $50, $55 when I started going for my season tickets per game to over $80 per game. That's a big increase.
I acknowledge the fact that prices are going up, but in 12 years, inflation does happen. I just think
I believe we made it out though. It's like 5.7%.
So I'll give you an example of a place like Green Bay for the Packers. Their stadium is bigger. Their population's a quarter the size of Winnipeg, and they sell it every game. And I would venture that the face value of a ticket to watch a Packer game is higher than a Winnipeg Jet.
9 times a year. 9 times a year.
It could be, yeah.
If the scarcity drives sales. If the Jets, let's say the Jets played half their games here and half the games in Regina.
Right.
You only got 20 games now.
I think what you said earlier, the apathy is here in Winnipeg.
The shine is washed off.
So, I think apathy is a good word to use.
Everybody that's talking online right now about the woes of the Winnipeg Jets and their fans, it's real here, but I don't know if it's a real problem yet. And I'm hoping that they can get this fixed.
I think it's a real problem.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. We've got a very deep-pocketed owner, so it's tough to say it's a real problem with having the buildings that they have downtown that they've built around the arena, owning the arena this time, whereas last time they were leasing the arena, and having a billionaire as a owner.
Billionaires do not like to lose money. That's why they're billionaires.
But it's much different than it was last time. So anyway, let's move on from the Jets talk. Let's talk about something a little bit more positive.
Yep.
Those Winnipeg Blue Bombers the other night, this week, 6 days ago, when the Bombers won, it was a very good game. I was at the game. Timothy was also at the game. I think this was your second game of the year, I believe.
Third game.
Third game of the year. What'd you think of the game?
So, of course, BC had won the day before. So it kind of created a little bit of a different game as far as the Bombers were concerned in that they didn't have to. It was basically a meaningless game.
Yeah.
But, the Bombers are the best. By the way, BC lost 41-17 to Calgary at home, and they have to play Calgary in 2 weeks, the same team at home.
BC has a bye now.
Yeah, BC's funny. Like, sometimes they look like they're unbeatable.
Yeah, BC
they might. You can check into it. Yeah. Sometimes BC looks like they're unbeatable, like they could, like the best team by far. And then other teams, they show up and they lose 41-17. Remember earlier in the year, they should have lost to Edmonton. They were down like 18-3 and they came back to it. Like they can look really bad. So you never know what you're going to get. And again, they have to face Calgary in 2 weeks to see who comes to Winnipeg to play. And now you got to play in the cold. By the way, do you think it matters? Like we always say, oh, BC is used to playing in a dome and if they got to come into Winnipeg, it's cold. Do you think that really matters?
So I don't think that part matters. I really don't think that the cold matters. Some players are better in the cold. I don't think teams are better in the cold, but some players are better in the cold because BC will practice here for the week before the game, so they'll get used to it.
Yeah.
I think the thing that matters is the fans. If the Bombers, which they have sold out 4 straight games now, if they sell out this Western final, and it's like anywhere above 0 for that game, and we get enough fans in that stadium, it'll be loud enough in that stadium to make a difference.
Right.
And that's where the difference comes in. It's never about the weather because people adapt. Players get traded from team to team. They don't know the difference. It is going to be the fans, 100%.
Yeah, I would agree with that. A question for you, Greg. Brady Oliveira is going to more than likely win the rushing title for the year, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. He's had a fantastic year.
He's chasing Robert Mims right now for the rushing title for the Bombers.
Yeah. So, and unfortunately, or fortunately, whichever way you want to look at it, now that they're resting players, we don't know how much
he probably won't make it, yeah.
So, maybe players care about records, maybe they don't, I don't know. Is Brady Oliveira, is he getting to the place where he's almost or as good as Andrew Harris was at his peak?
So Oliveira and Harris are very similar in terms of their running back style, I believe, where they're running north-south a lot. They don't go east-west a lot. But I think Andrew Harris was a better out of the backfield pass catcher.
Right.
I think that he was. I could be totally wrong. I don't have any numbers in front of me here, but I remember Harris having a certain amount of yards for catching and yards for running, and I don't remember Brady Oliveira ever being talked about for catching.
Certainly, that aspect is one that in the last couple of years he's improved on.
Yeah,
because he was very much known for just out of the backfield, like you said. But in the last couple of years, and for me personally, he's not there yet.
Yeah,
but he's pretty dang close. He's knocking on the door, and he's still young. So,
in terms of rushing,
yeah,
he is a better rusher right now than Andrew Harris was in his last couple of years with Winnipeg. You know, he had Harris's best years were the start of Winnipeg and in BC, but Harris has always been great catching the ball. So once Oliveira can do that, the other thing too is Winnipeg has so many weapons. Like receiving wise, Harris when he was here did not have the weapons that they have this year.
Right.
So,
to the point where Dalton Schoen can be out for what could be the rest of the years, including the playoffs.
Yeah.
And he's just replaced.
Exactly.
Right.
Like it's super simple. So, like Oliveira, I was talking to Lorraine yesterday at the game. I'm like, man, I want to get an Oliveira jersey. She does not like that idea.
No.
No, because she just doesn't want me to get another jersey. So I got a Big Hill that I wear every game. And then I've got a Harris that I used to wear all the time. Like I'd go between Big Hill and Harris, and now I don't wear the Harris. The Harris is signed. I was thinking about putting it up on the wall and framing it. But she doesn't want me to get another jersey. So we'll see what happens in the offseason when I go shopping.
Maybe you need to be in a mall, and then she could say, I'll get you anything you want if you go up to a complete stranger.
That would be awesome. Make
sure there's a Sport Check or some kind of sporting store there.
Okay, Lorraine, if you're listening, which you told me you listen every time, pause right now and text me that I can't get the jersey, and I won't get it. If you don't pause right now and tell me I can't get it, I will be driving to the stadium today to pick up the jersey. Let's see if she listens. Closely.
This is a test. And when are you booking the cruise? Maybe we can come to some kind of agreement. You book the cruise, and you get to get the jersey.
So we're going to work on the last topic of sports here. And for anybody who watches us for the sports commentary, we appreciate this. We're trying to balance it out, obviously, with sports and with some life hacks and, fun interviews coming up. We're still working on the interview process. So anybody that's wondering like why we're not interviewing people yet, we are working out the bugs, and we're working out virtual and in-person interviews. So once we get all that worked out, we're going to definitely start getting some people scheduled up, and we have one coming up in just a little bit. But first of all, let's talk about the Astros and the baseball playoffs, because right now, this is the most exciting part of the baseball playoffs I've seen since it started this year, because before this, it was not exciting.
So baseball in general, a lot of people say it's too long. It's 162 games. They call it the dog days of summer, which you could argue here or there about. But the playoffs, when it gets started, there's nothing like baseball playoffs. And the Houston Astros, 7 straight ALCS championships. 7 straight. That's incredible. 7 straight times, and they're on the verge of going to the World Series again. That's unbelievable. So I want to talk about that as far as what you think of the Astros.
How many World Series in a row will this be?
So I don't have that in front of my I don't have that. Is it 3?
I think this will be their 3rd in a row.
Okay, so I was correct. And let's talk a little bit about, if anyone remembers the history of the Houston Astros. Anyone that played on the Houston Astros, was it 3-4 years ago, they were caught in a bit of a cheating scandal. Where they would tip off pitchers, tip off batters by, I think, hitting garbage cans or whatever, these different things they would do. And they were actually They were fined, I believe.
Yeah,
A draft choice was taken away, correct?
And the coach was suspended for a year.
Right.
And their GM was also suspended for a year.
Right. So there was a number of penalties because of that. Now, they weren't the only team that was cheating in this capacity. My opinion is they were the only team that was caught.
This was in 2017.
Yeah.
Alex Cora was their assistant.
Right.
I read a book called Cheated, all about this.
Yeah.
Apparently, it was Alex Cora and Carlos Beltran that started the whole cheating scandal.
Right.
You know who Carlos Beltran learned this from?
Was it Carlos Delgado and Sean Green?
2 ex-Jays.
Yeah.
Who were groomed back in the 94 World Series?
Right.
93 World Series by other players. Now, it's all like, this isn't a book, right? This isn't 100% truth. But the fact that it's not really cheating if you don't use outside noise making.
Right.
So Sean Green and Carlos Delgado would actually sign steal from second base, or they would tip steal.
Right.
So they could figure out what the pitchers are doing, what the pitchers are throwing, and they could figure out all those tipping, and then they'd be able to instantly know what pitch was coming based on certain tips.
Right.
Sean Green hit some of the best pitchers in the world better than anybody else based on the fact that he knew different movements that the pitcher made for different pitches.
Right.
So they were apparently stealing signs electronically and with garbage cans and using replay booths and all that kind of stuff. It was a whole different kind of way of sign stealing. But apparently the sign stealing started in New York.
Right.
And then Alex Cora went to Boston. The next year, Boston won the World Series. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and Boston also, they were kind of as a slap on the wrist to them too, but they were kind of, them in New York was sort of caught by that to the same extent.
New York was caught with the Apple Watch scandal where apparently the Apple Watch was buzzing and they would give a signal.
Yeah.
But 2017, the Astros won the World Series. And then in 2022, last year, they won the World Series. I actually have a World Series trophy for that one because I went to their first game this year. They've won the pennant 17, 19, 21 and 22, and if they win again this year, 23. That'll be 5 times in 7 years.
Yep.
To win that pennant. So and to go to the World Series.
And it's funny because some of these players that used to play on the Astros, they go to different teams, right? So we watched
George Springer
in New York. We watched Springer was playing for the Jays, and then some of the Yankee fans were like, "These you cheater, you cheater!" And I think they had like a player or two that was in the same team. It's like, do you guys know what you're talking about?
No, the Yankees didn't.
Oh, right. It was the Yankees, right? The Yankees also were. They were cheating too.
We were in Minnesota for the playoffs,
right, and that's what I was thinking of. Yeah.
And they're yelling "cheater" and booing George Springer relentlessly.
Yeah, and
I yell out, "You know that Correa played with him on the same team."
Yeah.
And then whenever Correa would come out, just because of that, Carlos Correa, right because of that, I would yell, "Jailer!"
Yeah.
And everybody would look back at me and laugh.
They laugh.
They know. They know it's the same. They're yelling at Springer the same. And you know what the weird part is?
Yeah.
Springer and Correa both wear number 4.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's kind of weird though. They both didn't wear 4, I don't think, with the Astros.
And do you remember that big play in the game that we went to, Game 2, where Vladimir Guerrero was caught on second?
Yeah.
It was kind of a little bit of cheating that was happening there too, right?
So Carlos Correa called that pickoff move, and he told them that he was going to sneak in behind, and he so basically what happened, and I don't have all the details in front of me, but basically what would happen is he snuck in behind, and he's the off baseman. So normally, because it was a right-handed batter, the second baseman would be the one that would sneak in, not the shortstop. But the shortstop actually snuck in behind Guerrero, which was Correa, and the bench pressed a button on the pitch comm, telling the pitcher to turn around and throw the ball.
Right.
And instantly, the pitcher turned around, threw the ball, Guerrero out.
And that was
is that cheating?
Gray area?
Electronic
maybe, right?
again.
Yeah, exactly.
John Gibbons seems to think so.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, where does cheating become too much cheating? Because you're trying to get in.
There's a very gray area there.
And some people say if you're not cheating, you're not trying, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right? So a little bit of gray area. But anyways, I thought that was interesting. But go Astros, right?
It's a gray area. And there, you know what? There's a lot of things that have gray areas.
Yeah, that's right. And we're going to talk about that coming up.
We're going to talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, it is time for a segment.
Time for an amazing segment.
This is a new segment.
Yeah.
We're going to introduce somebody on the big screen here on our new high-tech studio.
Yeah.
And this person is going to be somebody that you know very well. And you've been preparing for this all your life.
And the reason we're doing this is because we've had something about, or what's Avery doing now?
What's Avery doing now, yeah.
And we had
Untitled segment with Taylor.
Where we
had no titles for the segment.
Not titled. And we've had some viewers push back, and there's been a high demand. They're like, I know you have 3 daughters.
I don't remember any viewers pushing.
We have referenced the 2 of the daughters, but where's the 3rd? We keep talking about her. We haven't seen her. We haven't heard from her, and a lot of people want to hear from the OG, the original Sanderson daughter.
We haven't technically seen any of your daughters yet, but this one will be the first one.
Number 1
on our new studio on the big screen for the virtual interview with Officer Cadet Rayna. Welcome, Rayna.
Hello.
Hey. So, your dad has some questions for you, but I want to start out by saying, Rayna, how have you been?
I've been good. I went to church this morning, came back, did some homework. It's been a relaxing day, relaxing week. It's been okay.
Okay, so your dad's no longer in the room. Wait, never mind, you can see him. Tell me the truth. How have you been?
No, I've been good.
Yeah.
Some days are harder than others, busier than others, tiring than others. But as long as I get my naps in, I'm okay.
Yeah. Are you missing? We'll get into that in a little bit here. But I heard that you're living the life out there. You're living the Top Gun dream.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Tell me about it. What is the Top Gun dream?
Well, specifically, not exactly like Top Gun. I'm not a pilot. But definitely the fun scenes that you see with everyone in the crew hanging out after hours, off duty, on the beach playing soccer. Soccer too, but football, volleyball. That really happens. It does. It does.
So the scene that you're referring to in the last Top Gun, where they're all on the beach, they're playing football, they're having a blast, and they're gelling as a team. That actually happened to you.
Oh yeah, that actually happens. Yeah.
That sounds like not work at all. That sounds just like fun.
That is on the weekend. That is after duty.
So what do they call that again?
What? So like weekend leave and stuff like that?
Yeah. So that's what it's called, weekend leave?
Yeah. So we have on duty weekends and then we have leave weekends. So on duty we could be asked to report to do certain duties on campus or on base. But leave weekends, sometimes they plan for a bunch of us to get together. Like the one that I'm talking about, we went to the beach in August because it obviously is kind of gross inside now. But in August, we went one Sunday evening. Actually the whole day we spent out on the beach there, played volleyball, football, and then afterwards we went to a restaurant.
I can see where you get your desk banging from.
And
I'm gonna put my hands away now.
And if I'm
a lot of hand talking, a lot of tapping on the desk.
We're very animated, us Sanderson.
You Sanderson.
Just to finish her story off, they went to.
You're going to finish her story off.
What I was told is they went to a restaurant and Goose played Great Balls of Fire on the piano.
The Goose?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So, Anthony Edwards.
Yeah. So.
Anthony, you met Anthony Edwards? Wow, you're just like your dad. You're meeting everybody.
So we might have made that story up. It might have been a half lie. Everything else
true.
At that point was 100% true.
No, just a little white lie.
So
Tim, you have some questions for Rayna? I'd like to hear these questions that you got for
Rayna. What do you think of your dad's internationally renowned podcast with Greg Stewart? What do you think? Have you listened to every single episode?
And just to be clear, internationally renowned means we do have international listeners.
Which we do. That's true.
Yeah, Poland, Haiti, Thailand, Bangkok, all the famous places.
What are your thoughts? And do you remember your favorite episode? And what are your general thoughts about the podcast?
Well, I have listened to every episode, and it comes out at a different time that it comes out in Winnipeg. So I think I can hear it or earlier or later than everyone else. I don't know. But I like listening to it. My favorite parts are when Greg talks. No, I'm kidding.
Yes. I knew it. That's why I interrupt you all the time.
Most of the time it's Greg talking, interrupting my dad, which is very funny. I like that. I have watched every single episode. My favorite episode would probably when you threw up those pictures of me playing volleyball. I thought that was pretty funny.
So people have seen her.
That's right.
You have seen me, yes, and it's nice to hear about home when I'm not there. So it's nice.
Are you a little homesick?
Yes, I am.
So, what's the difference between being in the military and being at home?
The difference?
Yeah.
In the military, like I said, I'm thinking.
Just speak from your heart. Just speak from your heart.
You know what? I have a loving family here, whereas at home, it's here. I have to report everything to chain of command if I want to even go to a dentist appointment, or I just have to let someone know. Constantly letting someone know what I'm doing all the time. It's kind of like I'm being babysitted, but not really. I just have to report everything that I'm doing. Whereas if I'm at home, especially my gap year that I had, I could just, if I wanted to go out and do something, I just went out and did it, right? So it's a lot more loopholes and stuff I have to go through to do certain things.
So at home, you didn't have any chain of command?
No, there is no authority whatsoever.
Right. At 18 years old, I was not a drill sergeant at home, Greg, if that's what you're asking.
I'm not.
Please email me this request for leave.
Have you, so the second question, because your dad already asked you about the podcast, have you noticed if his mic skills have gotten better or worse?
Well, I actually remember watching the first episode, and I saw my dad doing this the entire time, and I noticed that actually right off the bat before you guys even brought up in podcast. I was about to text him about it. Be like, Dad, you need to speak into the microphone. Right. Even I know that.
And that was Greg's fault. That was Greg's fault for giving me a chair that could go too far back. And he's since then improved and made changes to his directorial.
By changes, you mean chains. We've chained him to the chair.
You do know the microphone you're supposed to talk into, right?
Okay, thanks so much, Rayna.
Sure to clarify.
Yeah, and that's all the time we have for today.
Wait a minute. Look at even right now as he's like, okay, thanks, Rayna. He's not even talking into the mic. So Rayna, just to clarify, there's a logo on the microphone that I told him to talk at the logo. Even when you're talking towards the camera, you need to talk at the logo.
Swivel, yeah.
Yeah, you can move your body, but keep your head on that swivel, right?
Exactly.
But your dad moves his body, and he doesn't keep his head on a swivel. So he's getting there.
And since then, we've discovered that Greg post-edit can actually fix those things up. So I'm really helping him sharpen his editing skills. And that's really what I'm about. Helping Greg sharpen those skills.
By post-edit, it's work.
Yeah. He learns. He learns, and that's the important thing. So anyway, moving on, you talked about kind of your most challenging aspect in the military as far as having to check in and a little bit getting babysat. What has been the best aspect of being in the military?
Best aspect in the military. Well, you got to understand, I'm at the military college, so it's not exactly as if I'm on course right now. But I do have, probably the best part is the friends that I've made here. And specifically too, I play college volleyball here, which has been awesome because I didn't get recruited or anything like that before. I just kind of walked on and tried out, and I made the team. So I've made lots of really good friends here, and that makes the time away from home a lot easier.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That's a great answer.
So your dad has one more question, but I'm going to ask you something before that. Your dad had some stickers made with QR codes. Do you mind just sticking them on people's doors for the show to sponsor, promote, get the show out there?
I mean, I could do that as a new standard, maybe. Everyone gets one because everyone has to be the same.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
So I just need your dad's credit card number and we'll get those ordered.
Wait a
I
minute.
actually have the credit card number, so safe. I'll send it
Okay,
to you.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Wait, what's this?
If you want, you could just say it right now. I'll
What's
make
this
sure that it
email
goes up
about
on the
purchase
screen.
shoes? Skip the dishes, $600. What's going on?
Can I do your last question, Timothy?
So last week, I don't know if you caught this, Rayna, but we were talking about 15 seconds of courage, and that was from Pastor Zach, where he talks and he references 15 seconds of courage can really change your life. And he referenced also, we bought a zoo that references 20 seconds of courage. And this is why I wanted to phone you, because you actually have a story that that it was something to do with requiring 5, 10, 15 seconds of courage. And I'm wondering if you could share that with with our audience.
Yeah, no, for sure. So back when we were doing basic training, I'm going to try and not do as many hands as my father does. But back when we were in...
I like having Rayna on this show. Can we have her as like a third person?
I mean, when I come for Christmas time, we should do that. So about during our basic training, they had us all lined up, and they asked if anybody wanted to go to this mess dinner, and they're like, "You get free food." And so obviously, I put my hand up real fast, and I said, "Of course, I want that free food." And then a little bit while later, I was approached by our chief warrant officer, and he asked me for that dinner if I want to do the land acknowledgement. So the one thing you have to know about these mess dinners is that they have very important people there. It's basically a big sponsored dinner kind of thing to raise money for the college. So a lot of high-ranking officers will buy a ticket because, again, it's for sponsoring, and some other cadets will go as well to represent their squadrons and stuff like that. So when he'd asked me, I was like, yes, of course, I'll do it. I'm scared, so I'll do it. That's literally what I said to the chief warrant officer. I'm scared, so yes, I'll do it. Because honestly, I've even listened to your podcast. I've recognized some of the things that they even taught us back at youth here at the church that we attend, that whatever makes you uncomfortable, you grow, right? So I was like, I'll do it. Sure. Yes. Whatever. I'll do it. And so then they sent me that land acknowledgement. And so I practiced, and I memorized it. And then obviously, when I went to the mess dinner, I was scared again, crapless. I literally was shaking as I got up to that podium. But I read the land acknowledgement and made sure to make eye contact with everybody, as a good speaker is supposed to. And then I didn't die, which was crazy because that's what you think when you do something that scares you that so much.
Yeah, and just to clarify, you're in Ontario. The land acknowledgement is quite a bit longer than what we say in Manitoba.
Yeah, it was 5 sentences, but these 5 sentences were full of hard to pronounce words, and it looked like a big paragraph of just lots and lots of words. But again, I had memorized it, and so then.
So Rayna, you come from a very performative background in general. I've seen you sing in the past, and I've seen you on stage in the past with youth group and others. I've also seen you do a speech at summer camp in front of everybody that was there. So question, when you did that speech at summer camp, you took a very wise person's advice and did a joke to start it out, just to break the ice.
Yes, I did.
Who was that wise person's advice? Who was that wise person that gave you the advice?
No one notable. I don't really.
I think it was me.
It was me. But,
oh,
and it worked out really well for her. Did you do a joke just to break the ice again?
No, I definitely did not make a joke for a land acknowledgement full of a room of high-ranking officers.
Did you add anything at the end? Like, I'm Rayna Sanderson. My phone number is 431.
I did not.
I'm uncomfortable with how this interview is going at this point, but
either way, Rayna, I'm super proud of you for doing that, because
absolutely.
As much as your dad doesn't say it, he is proud of you too.
I say it all the time.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard it from him ever.
Okay.
This is why Rayna is still my favorite.
All these non-truths on air, on the radio.
Rayna,
/ podcast.
he made me edit in Taylor and Avery's names into my favorite thing. So just so you know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I thought it was hilarious that we all asked that same question anonymously.
Yes, it was very funny.
Your dad was.
And sometimes we don't laugh.
But again, like stuff like what I did was very rewarding because even afterwards, like I said, like a high-ranking officer came up afterwards and congratulated me. It was like complimented me, just said I could tell you memorized it. You did very, very well. Lots of people came up to me afterwards and said, "Oh my goodness, you did so good." I'm like, really? I was scared, but they couldn't tell, right? Because I just did it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, that's fantastic. I love that story, and I think we're going to end it on that, Rayna, because we do have to get to a few other segments here, and we all know how cranky your dad gets when he doesn't get his food on time. So
I just had my food before we started taping.
you ruin everything.
My belly is full.
He's like, have you ever seen Adam Ruins Everything?
No.
You should Google it. Adam Ruins Everything. And we should do a show called Tim Ruins Everything.
You can't tell non-truths and have me just go along with it all of the time.
That's the whole thing about the show today. Little white lies.
We'll get into that a little bit later.
Okay, Rayna, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. And we hope that you're doing amazing out there. And we'll see you at Christmas time.
Yep.
Okay. Grab your favorite beverage. Cheers.
Cheers.
I don't know.
See you later.
See you, Rayna. Have a good one, eh?
Bye-bye.
Okay, Tim, I've got a new segment for you today.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't know what it is, but I'm looking forward to it.
Hey, Billy, Billy, can you introduce the new segment?
I still haven't been paid for previous intros, but here goes. It's time for this or that.
This or that.
What's in my beverage?
No, we don't know.
Liqueur.
It is not. It is pure Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it's Coca-Cola Zero Cherry.
Cherry Coca-Cola Zero.
That's correct.
So this is a little quick segment. We don't have something you don't know about Tim this week. Not because we know everything about Tim, but because I wanted to throw it a little wrench and just do a little bit of this or that.
This regularly scheduled program has been preempted
by this or that.
This or that.
So Tim, I'm going to ask you a question of this or that. You have to pick one and quickly describe why. Are you ready?
Pick this or that? Oh,
you have to pick one of the things, and this or that, and why.
I'm ready. Go ahead.
Okay, here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
And why?
Coffee's straight from heaven.
Okay.
By the way, I have cream and sweetener. I don't know if did I explain what I had in my coffee? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta be candy coffee. It's gotta be sweet.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Okay.
Who are these people that like winter better?
I know. It's weird.
What's wrong with them?
I do not like winter at all.
It's
dark. It's cold. It's like living in a closet.
Did I mention it's cold?
And dark.
And dark?
Cats or dogs?
Oh, dogs. Cats, like, what are they there for? What are they doing?
This one's going to be a tough one for you.
Yeah.
But just think to your cheat days. If you had a cheat day, pizza or pasta?
Pizza.
Pizza?
Yeah.
What?
And I've said before I don't like pizza, but all of a sudden I'm saying I'll pick pizza or pasta. Although, you know what? Spaghetti and meatballs?
Yeah.
Oh, it's good. I like spaghetti and meatballs.
So pizza or pasta?
But I like them both. I'll preference it by saying that. But I like pizza a bit better.
Okay.
Barbecue chicken pizza, by the way.
Ugh.
Oh, come on.
I do not like it.
What?
My family, that's what they...
Yes, because they
like...
Yeah, it's great.
On Lorraine's side, they love barbecue chicken pizza.
That's fantastic. They know good things.
They know good things.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan. Beach vacation, mountain getaway.
Oh,
getting harder. They're getting harder.
Mountain getaway.
Really?
Because I love hiking.
Yeah.
Sitting by the beach it's great because the weather's great. But then what do you do after you?
So you're like a glutton for punishment.
Love hikes. Oh, climb a mountain for sure. Feel great. Okay. Then go to the beach.
Sweet or savory?
Oh, sweet. Easy.
Yeah?
Ice cream, gelato. Oh, the chocolate. The more chocolate it is, the better.
I feel like you're more like a nuts kind of guy.
Chocolate. Oh, now I want ice cream or gelato. I want to go straight from here.
You get gelato?
Gelato. at blank gelato. I don't want to say any names,
Okay.
but it rhymes with Nevas.
Morning person or night owl?
Morning person, that's easy.
Travel by car or by plane?
Well, plane, of course, but cost-wise sometimes means I will go by car.
But you'd prefer plane.
Well, yeah, it's quicker. It's
Okay.
all costs being equal.
This is the last question.
The last one? I've enjoyed the segment so much. I wish we could go on forever.
I know. I hope you're still listening.
Maybe the viewers have something to say.
The viewer may not
This
be
or
listening
that.
anymore.
Yeah.
Music or podcasts?
Tie. It's a tie.
You're going to go with a tie?
Because they do them both.
But which one, if you had to choose one over the other, like if one would be gone?
Podcasts. Can we call it documentaries?
Well, spoken radio, basically.
My documentaries win.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. And that's been the segment, This or That. Can you do...
This or that.
Hey, Billy, can
This or
you
that.
also do an exit for that segment? Thanks, Billy.
And that was This or That! Back to you, Gregory!
How'd I do? If you were grading me on a curve.
If I was grading you on a curve,
Yeah.
it would be a U.
Okay.
The curve would be going downward.
How did I do with speaking into my mic?
You're speaking into the mic well, sometimes.
If last week was a 7, what would I be so far this week?
7.1.
7.1?
Yeah, you'd have to get a lot better to get over a 7.
0.1?
Yeah.
That's the improvement?
Yeah. Well, when you listen to it and watch it, you'll see.
Okay. All right. I'll try not to watch it like every week.
Time for the topic of the day, Timmy.
Anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
So, do we have the music going for this? When do we start that?
Let's roll the music.
Let's roll the music.
Okay, hooray! It's time for the topic of the day.
So, I was thinking the other day
Yeah.
about this topic that was going on in my head, but I'm going to ask you I'm going to say a bunch of sentences, and we're going to tie them in at the end. Okay. Have you ever done these things? Have you ever said these things? Have you ever heard that cracking your knuckles will give you arthritis?
Yes.
Have you ever told your kids that it doesn't matter how much they dislike the gift they got from their grandmother to smile and say, I love you, and it's fantastic?
Have I ever told my kids that?
To say that?
No.
No? Okay. Have you ever heard that if you cross your eyes for too long, they will stay that way forever?
Yes, I've heard it.
Have you?
I had a friend that happened.
I don't think so. Have you ever heard that you need your
Cross-eyed Jim?
Cross-eyed Jim. That's his real name. Hello, how are you? What's your name? Cross-eyed Jim.
Cross-eyed Jim.
Last name? No. Have you ever heard that you need to give your food 90 minutes to digest before you go swimming?
30.
30? Okay,
30 minutes.
Okay. Have you been told that eating carrots will help your eyesight?
I've been told that, yes.
Have you been told that storks deliver babies?
No, I've never been told that.
Okay. As adults,
I was told where babies came from.
as an adult, have you ever told someone it's nice to see them even though it wasn't?
I'll pass.
When someone asks you how you're doing, have you ever said you're doing fine even though you weren't?
I am always living the dream.
Have you ever been told by someone that lives in the street if you have, or asked if you have change, and you've said you have no change even though you don't?
I don't carry change.
When you get stuck in traffic or when you're late for something, do you ever say that you got stuck in traffic, something that didn't actually happen?
No.
Right. Have you ever told somebody that the email they sent must have gone to your junk drawer to explain why you didn't return the email?
No.
Have you ever lost a call and said you were going through a tunnel, but you just didn't want to continue the conversation?
I have not ever said that, but yeah, no.
Okay. Anyway, so
I do
these
not want to incriminate.
why
Why are you asking me?
So you're the only one here. Anyway,
I guess. Yeah.
he's sweating all of a sudden.
I am not sweating. I'm perfectly normal.
So this is the topic that I want to talk about today, and it's lies, specifically little white lies.
Yeah.
And the question I have is: are all lies the same? Are some lies okay to say to either make sure someone's feeling isn't hurt, to make yourself feel better? Is it never a good time to lie, or are some lies Okay, that's my question. And we're going to go into some other things about that, but that's my kind of initial prompt into this conversation.
Okay. So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Did you lie to anybody today?
If I thought about it, not off the top of my head. Researchers say that we lie.
So here,
we lie, apparently, this is what I heard, anywhere from 10 to 20 times a day, but we just don't realize it.
yeah.
Either to ourselves or to other people, right?
So earlier today, I saw Tim in a room speaking to some people, and I popped in and I said, hello. And he's like, sorry, you're interrupting. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm interrupting. I shouldn't have just popped in and said hello. And he's like, I don't know who you are, but can you please just leave us alone?
Right. Of course, I was being just kind of, some people don't know.
No, you were literally lying.
Yeah.
That you didn't know who I was.
I guess so.
5 minutes later, Tim was in another room.
Yeah.
And I'm just walking through the halls, and I see him in that room.
Yeah.
And I said hello again, and he
I don't even know this man.
To a totally different person this time. Do you know who this is? And she's like, I've met him before.
No.
But I can't remember his name. And Tim's like, oh, I don't know who this is. And
of course, I was being playful.
those were two lies. I don't know if you knew that you were lying, but those were two lies instantly that Tim told today. Anyway, so we're into the little white lie thing. Yeah, like it happens all the time. What do you...
Greg doesn't like it when I touch his food or things like that.
I'm like, why are you touching my stuff?
Right. So... I'm
going to bleep out his last name.
So this is just like a small examples, and some of them are just, we laugh them off.
Yeah.
And that's, but then there's like bigger things like how the government lies to us all the time, right?
Whoa. Let's not get into too much trouble here.
But they do. So if you take a look at the history of, let's say, smoking. Yeah. Have you heard that? You've watched that documentary. What's it called?
Thank you. Well, it's not a documentary. It's a movie.
Right. Okay.
It's Thank You for Smoking.
It's a documentary movie.
It's a movie.
Yeah.
Documentary.
And it talks about how the government's, now the government will tell you, it's not good for you. But back in the day, I feel horrible for the past generations in the 20s and 30s, where literally doctors and the government would put advertisements saying, the dentist literally said that smoking was good for your teeth.
Well, basically, like it was lobbyists, right? So there would be lobbyists from big tobacco that would spend money on government, and the government would then spend money on advertising to sell tobacco, alcohol, tobacco. I think you have one other example of something that happened back in, was it Nixon's era or something?
So I was looking at a documentary about the history of milk and milk production.
Yeah.
And if anyone knows anything about your body typically loses the enzyme to digest dairy, certainly dairy that's been pasteurized anyway, at the age of 4.
So I don't know that this is the truth.
It's true.
So I'm going to believe you right now.
But because we have dairy producers in the U.S. that want to produce these things, we're encouraged to eat a certain amount or drink a certain amount. Yeah. But the history of the last 100 years of milk production is crazy. Right before the Depression and the World War, there was the government something like encouraged farmers to produce milk because it was a cheap way to feed people that were starving, because the Depression in the 20s and 30s was real. People were starving, so they needed to help them in some way. And then when the soldiers went to fight, it was just something that it could be an easy way to get, to sell that milk from the farmer and still feed people, right?
Yeah.
And then after the World War II, instead of the government telling the farmers to curtail their milk production, they said, well, let's continue this and feed the general public more milk. And so campaigns were built to I think again, the teeth thing, I think at some point the government or campaigning or advertising encouraged people they could brush their teeth with milk, and certainly they were drinking quite a bit of it.
Yeah.
And this continued on. I'm not going to get into it. We can show clips of the documentary, which the gentleman did a good job of. But going through in Nixon's era, I think he did the same thing, and then Reagan did as far
free
as
cheese,
government cheese in the Reagan era, and in the 90s, if you remember the Got Milk campaign,
with the milk mustaches.
Right? And if you look at any food pyramids, dairy is one of the big things. Even though, again, your body can't digest it.
Would you consider that a little white lie, or would you consider that a malicious lie?
Again, and this is the question for the podcast: is all lying bad, or are some lying because the ends justify the means? Okay,
Yeah.
And I used some silly examples at the beginning. As far as I'll give you another example. We had our friend's niece wouldn't eat anything but chicken.
Okay.
And I'm going back and forth here, so I apologize. But so their family decided to call everything chicken. So they'd eat that, right?
Yeah.
So beef, seafood, steak. They were only 5. They didn't know.
We might do
that. Just so they would eat chicken. Well, you're lying to the child, right? You're telling them it's chicken. Well, it's not. Like, this is clearly steak.
So that would be that would be what's considered those little white lies.
Right.
So again, it becomes that little white lie where we as parents tell our kids something and we do it out of their benefit.
Right.
Now, when the government tells us a lie, again, like this, I'm not saying the government's lying to us. That's not what I'm saying. But if the government in the past tells us this milk lie to get rid of milk.
Yeah. Do the ends justify the means?
Is that a white lie now because they're trying to get rid of the milk? Or is that a malicious lie because they're actually harming people?
And the bigger question, is there a difference?
Yeah.
Right. That's the question. Are there different scales of lies?
Yeah.
In our personal lives, in the larger spectrum as far as the world is concerned?
Yeah.
Is there a difference? Is one lie
more powerful than the other?
More reasonable than another one, right? Yeah. That's the question. Some people have a very non-gray area where, nope, all lies are lies. Yeah. They're all the same.
Again, though, today you told 2 to me. And that's just to me. I'm not even talking about what you told everybody
Debatable.
else.
This is debatable. Again, I think I was. And, like, you could be...
You're doing it in jest.
You could be telling a story. What's it? Again, the other question is,
Tim's nickname is 2 truths and a lie.
That's your nickname, and it's justifiable. And then going back to the government example, like, we had the same thing, and I don't want to get into, but big pharma.
Yeah,
I think even if you leave out of it, big pharma, I think people recognize that the government is trying to push certain pharmaceuticals on people that are questionable.
And here's the thing: in
order to get a monetary payment,
we as like a population of people won't really know what is and isn't a lie,
right,
until the next generation happens.
Right.
It's the same as like back in the day.
And smoking right now, it's
smoking was healthy for you, and it was not. And like, to believe certain things is to believe certain things, and some people will willingly just believe whatever is put in front of them without looking it up. There's a book by a guy named Hans Rosling. It's called Factfulness. And I listened to it on Audible back when we were in the times when we couldn't go out and stuff.
Right.
And I thought it was really good. If anybody wants to listen to a good book, it's called Factfulness, 10 Reasons We're Wrong About the World and Why Things Are Better Than You Think.
Right.
There is a lot of things that are being told to us on a daily basis that are lies.
Yep.
And not getting into any conspiracy theories or anything like that. But in the end, the truth always comes out.
Right. And this is the problem I find, that's what you just said is so true. Like, the issue is some people take these non-truths and they just spin it so out of control that nobody takes it seriously. So when you say certain things that are lied, it doesn't get as much respect because it's now people are being controlled by robots. And everybody. And we have friends like this where it's like you can't take a single thing they say, at face value. You can't take it seriously because it's kind of nutso, right?
For every truth,
for every mile of road, there's 2 miles of ditch.
That's correct. Yeah. So for every mile of truth, there's 2 miles of lies.
So I think we've kind of gone over the subject matter, but I think it's an interesting topic to ask people, do you believe that all lies, all lying is wrong?
Yeah.
Or are there some personal lies that we take for granted that are they're safe? They don't have there's nothing wrong with them. They're not malicious. No one's getting harmed. And even on a bigger scale, do you think think we're lied to by the government? And how much, right?
Yeah.
But
how well
it's a good discussion to have, because I mean,
Yeah.
you know, some people think that some people will probably respond and say, like, you should get the tin foil off your heads, right? Just by what we're saying. Right?
Yeah, and we're not going to get any copyright strikes this week, but we may get a call from
because we haven't had our podcast submitted to
we haven't submitted it for approval to the government.
Maybe he'll be on next week.
Well, let's see if we can get him as an interview.
Yeah,
Would you listen?
Oh, they would.
I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
He or she. Well, that was great, Tim. And let's finish it up here. We're at the end of the show. I got a couple of housekeeping things to address. We made a couple mistakes over the last couple episodes.
Oh, yes, the mistakes.
2 episodes ago, I said that the usual suspects was Quentin Tarantino, which it was not. It was Bryan Singer.
Right. And we should go into that. Remember that segue I told you about? Well, I guess we'll save it for next episode.
I guess so.
Remember that. Remember that, okay? I'm going to write it down.
Okay, you write it down. And then the second mistake was made by yourself about your brother-in-law, Bernard.
That's correct. I said he was a firefighter paramedic.
And he is...
No longer a paramedic. He is, I shouldn't say just, he is a firefighter.
Yeah, not just.
He saves people's lives, just like you do when you donate blood.
That's correct.
The same exact thing.
Did he say anything about that? About me saving lives?
No.
Oh, that's
no, he said, could Greg not come on the trip? Is there any way?
Is there any way we can get rid of Greg?
I could do.
Because he is not that great.
Why?
And then I want to share one last thing before we go here. We got a comment on YouTube. I like to shout out some comments every now and again, especially when we only get one.
Shout it out.
So it's easy to pick one. This person commented after our post about doing something courageous, doing something outside your comfort zone, a little bit of courage. This person quit their job and started a new one. And it took them courage to quit their job and start a new one. But the new one pays them double.
Wow.
So they said, seems to be going okay so far.
Getting twice as much.
So congratulations to you. Mac Tools Addiction. We salute you, making double. That's awesome.
Can't do that to Rayna, but we can do that to Mac Tools.
That is correct. So farewell, Tim. Until next time.
Until next time, my friend.
Give me one television show from the 80s that's Canadian that you remember.
The Littlest Hobo. I watched it all the time.
That's fantastic.
Saturday nights. Looking for Kingston Jazz.
With what's his name? The guy, Michael. The guy who played the Heaven guy. The guy that who was in Littlest Hobo? Just the hobo.
The hobo.
And
then just various people that would be kind of yeah.
Awesome. Well, have a good show.
Have a good show.
Thanks for watching the Greg and Tim Show podcast. See you again next week. Remember to share, like, and subscribe.